Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously profound Machiavellian and Stoic blueprint for gaining respect and power, all through strategic silence. We're going to look at 7 specific secrets the source material explicitly warns us to never reveal. Not to your best friend, not to your partner, not even to your family. It's kind of crazy to discover how mastering this silence could quite literally save your reputation, and honestly, maybe even your life.
Let's just dive straight into this incredibly powerful quote from Niccolo Machiavelli. This isn't just some casual observation, it is a serious historical warning. The whole premise here is that the more you reveal to people, the easier you are to manipulate, control, and ultimately break. People might be smiling right in your face, but behind that smile, they're actively collecting information.
Which really forces us to ask a pretty difficult question right off the bat. Are you actually handing over the very weapons meant to destroy you? We all tend to think our inner circle is totally safe, right? But the text warns us that friends can quickly become critics, and familiar faces can turn into outright saboteurs the minute they collect the wrong pieces of information about your life.
And here's the core problem we're facing today. The modern world pushes this myth that transparency and oversharing are somehow massive strengths. It feeds us the idea that you need to broadcast every single passing thought. But the historical reality, the stuff practiced by history's most powerful figures, shows that exposing your inner workings simply paints a huge target on your back. True power, as we'll see, actually lies in silence and mystery.
Okay, let's open vault number 1, guarding your ambitions. This is all about why your next move is never actually safe in other people's heads.
The dark psychology behind sharing your vision is absolutely fascinating. It's actually known as the fake dopamine trap. See, when you share these big, long-term goals, you get this immediate premature praise. But here's the catch. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between actual accomplishment and that unearned applause. It feels like you've already won, which completely kills your drive to execute the brutal, unseen work required to actually build that vision.
And beyond that internal loss of motivation, you've got external sabotage to worry about. Say you tell your family you're quitting your stable job to build a business. They might panic. They might throw terrifying statistics at you, like, yelling that 90% of startups fail. Suddenly you feel small. You start to question yourself. Basically, their personal fear forcefully becomes your paralyzing burden.
So, the crucial takeaway for Machiavelli here is that you don't owe anyone an explanation of your evolution. It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver, meaning play the game but stay 2 steps ahead. Let others think they know your moves. Let them fully expect the old you, while you're secretly executing your real master plan strictly in the shadows.
Remember, Julius Caesar didn't exactly post his plan before crossing the Rubicon. People respect finished products, not unfinished ideas. Every single time you share an unexecuted plan, you're handing someone the power to kill it with just one word of doubt. So keep your vision locked tightly away and force the world to notice your victories only after they're already won.
Now, this brings up a really fascinating contradiction. Why do we instinctively broadcast our emotional weaknesses and biggest regrets to the world? We're desperately looking for a life raft. We're craving validation. But exposing those unhealed wounds, it's actually one of the most dangerous things we can possibly do. Welcome to vault number 2, shielding your pain. Because real support is earned through quiet strength. When you bleed in front of the wrong person, you might think, hey, I'm opening up for honest connection and support. But the reality is a whole lot darker. You are actually handing them ammunition. You're giving them a leash to control you with later on. They store up your pain, and the second you pose a threat to them, you better believe they will weaponize it. Think about it. Your biggest betrayals rarely come from random strangers on the internet. No, they come from familiar faces. It's the ex who exposes your deepest insecurity after a bad breakup, or that coworker who casually laughs about your biggest fear months later. They remember your confessions of weakness, and they'll expose them the absolute second your ambition grows louder than theirs. The Stoics understood this dynamic perfectly. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to be tolerant with others, but strict with ourselves. This philosophy tells us to deal with our pain internally. Conquer your demons behind closed doors instead of demanding the rest of the world carry your emotional weight. It's all about not exposing what you haven't yet mastered. So it becomes pretty clear that treating our deepest regrets and past failures like public entertainment or like some sort of sob story is a massive trap. Instead, the goal is to turn your biggest regret into silent, internal discipline. Let it shape how you move forward, not how you explain yourself to others.
When we stop arming people with our own failures, our future becomes so dominant that it makes our past completely irrelevant.
All right, let's open our final section. Vault number 3, securing your status and private life.
There is a very good reason why the richer you get, the quieter you must become. Old money creates a mystery that commands instant respect. They never show their weapons before the war even starts. Loudly flexing your income, on the other hand, that just makes you predictable. It paints this massive target on your back for manipulation, constant comparison, and incredibly fake loyalty.
And what happens when you broadcast your relationship or family conflicts? Running straight to the group chat every time your partner acts a little distant turns your personal battlefield into a spectator sport. It completely strips you of your professional and personal dignity. Let's be real, absolutely no one respects a person who is constantly controlled by emotional chaos and drama.
Oversharing your family trauma or childhood dysfunction might get you a quick hit of immediate sympathy. But, just as Machiavelli points out, pity actually kills respect. When people pity you, they don't admire you, and they certainly don't trust your foundation. They'll just subconsciously place you right beneath them, viewing your trauma as your single defining label.
It's kind of fascinating, albeit a bit dark, to realize who the audience of your oversharing actually is. The peers consuming your relationship issues and family dysfunction are usually just experiencing the spectator effect. They're literally consuming your emotional instability as a distraction to feel delightfully superior about their own messy, boring lives.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this ironclad rule. If it bleeds, do not post it. Heal in silence. Keep your household's chaos completely locked down. You need to show up to the world as someone who is stable, clear, and totally unreadable. People only respect what you protect, and if you treat your private life as sacred, the world will be forced to do exactly the same.
Which brings us to a profound realization from the Stoic philosopher Seneca. He who is brave is free. Bravery brings true freedom, and in the context of this explainer, that freedom means mastering your past, your pain, and your ambitions so deeply that you literally do not owe a single person an explanation of your journey. You are completely free from the judgment and leverage of others.
When we contrast these two paths, the choice becomes painfully clear. Moving loud leaves you entirely vulnerable to the doubts, the jealousy, and the sabotage of other people. But moving in silence, that makes you unpredictable, untouchable, and deeply respected. You essentially become the quiet storm that simply does not break.
In a ruthless world that's just obsessed with digital exhibitionism, where everyone is screaming for constant validation and throwing their private lives all over the internet, choosing to be unreadable is deeply powerful. Executing your master plan strictly in the shadows, without needing a single round of applause, that is truly the ultimate flex.
To close out our explainer today, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Most people never reach their full potential because they constantly leak their goals, their fears, and their fire until there is nothing left but noise. But if you start guarding your silence like your life depends on it right now, just how incredibly powerful and how dangerous could you become tomorrow?